Here is the best thing about every ride at Epcot. Starting off with Spaceship Earth. Spaceship Earth is a classic, and it is seriously hard to pick just one thing to call the best. I love seeing the progression of technology and communication throughout history, and while the video that plays in your car is very outdated and pretty corny, it is classic and I think it's pretty cool. One particular scene I would call out for being the best would be the Rome scene. The burning scent is one of the most iconic smells in Disney, and I love it so much that I actually bought the Rome burning room spray from Magic Candle Company. Please sponsor me. And of course, who could forget the giant ball the ride is housed in? Truly one of the most iconic sights in any theme park ever. Next up, we have Journey into Imagination with Figment. This ride has quite a history behind it with all the different versions of the ride, one of which didn't even include Figment. But this version of the ride is not so great in my opinion. I'd say Figment himself is my favorite part about this ride, but I do wish he had a better ride. That's not to say it's without its charm, and I do really enjoy the ride, mainly because it never has a wait, but unless you're a big Figment fan, you'll probably come off this thing feeling a little confused. Moving on to Mission Space. This is one of, if not the most hated ride in all of Disney World, but I've always had a soft spot for it. Its relentless intensity and how unique it is makes me appreciate what the Imagineers were trying to do here. The best thing about this ride is how realistic the motion simulation feels because of the centrifuge. What this thing does is it spins you around the center so fast that it applies intense pressure on the rider. Each rider has a job that requires pressing buttons, think of it like a precursor to Smuggler's Run over at Hollywood Studios, and the spinning makes it difficult to even move your arms to hit them because of how much force is being applied to your body. Say what you want about Mission Space, but you can't deny that the Imagineers did exactly what they intended to do with this ride. Now let's talk about Test Track 3.0. Test Track 3.0 gives me hope for the future of Imagineering. It really feels like classic Epcot. All the references to the world of motion and the edutainment vibes reminiscent of old school Epcot really elevate it above Test Track 2.0, which was downright bad in my opinion. Test Track 3.0, however, is awesome, and my favorite part about this ride is the view of the city, which is a reference to Walt's original idea for Epcot, followed by the acceleration into the speed test. They even painted the World of Motion logo down there, and I was actually on the ride while they were painting it, which was really cool to see. The scene where you go through the house and your car changes just really puts me in mind of Spaceship Earth and other classic Epcot attractions. It makes me happy to see that Disney still cares about their roots and making innovative experiences while entertaining and educating their audience. Even the narration has that hopeful Epcot charm that is rare to come by nowadays. Let's hope the success of Test Track 3.0 leads to fewer IP attractions in the Disney parks. Despite what I just said about IPs, next up is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, and I absolutely adore this ride to no end. The music, the theming, the thrills, it all comes together to create one of the best theme park experiences out there. The best thing about this ride is kind of split, but I would say the music. Some of the songs like Conga and Disco Inferno actually make the ride significantly worse, while September and Everybody Wants to Rule the World make it infinitely better. I'd say the music is still the best part about this ride, but it really depends on what song you get. I even made an entire video about songs I would like to see on this ride because I personally find it baffling that these were the only songs that the Imagineers came up with, and I would love to see an update to the track list eventually. Aside from the music, there's plenty more for me to rave about when it comes to this ride. The pre-show is awesome, even though the walk afterwards is downright painful. I love the teleportation scene, of course, and was absolutely blown away by it the first time I rode it. I love the first of its kind spinning ride vehicles that are so smooth that you don't feel dizzy at all, but you feel immersed and like you are flying around space with the Guardians. The on-ride dialogue too is a nice touch that helps you follow the plot even though you are being launched and spinned around all over the place. This is just an incredible experience, especially if you are a fan of roller coasters and the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Another incredible experience would be hitting that subscribe button, so if you enjoy what you've seen so far, please consider subscribing. Next up we have Soarin, and Soarin is another ride that I really enjoy. The ride vehicles are so comfortable and the experience is so relaxing it's almost therapeutic. The best thing about this ride is simply the vibes. Just gliding over all these historic landmarks from across the world is awesome. It really fits the theme of Epcot of traveling all over the world, even though it's not in the World Showcase. Patrick Warburton as the narrator also adds so much to the experience, and the ride would not be the same without him. Now we're moving on to Living with the Land. Living with the Land is another one of my favorites, but it's really difficult to pinpoint what the best thing about the ride is. The ride feels so classic and you really get the sense that you're learning something. The atmosphere is so relaxing but also educational, and the theming at the beginning before the greenhouse is pretty neat. The best thing about Living with the Land is getting to see a working greenhouse and them growing food that actually gets served to guests. Living with the Land is a must-do, and this is a one-of-a-kind theme park experience that can only be found here at Epcot. Next, we have the Seas with Nemo and Friends. This might be my least favorite ride in all of Disney, maybe only rivaled by Alien Swirling Saucers. It just feels cheap and thrown together. The best part about the Seas with Nemo and Friends is it's part of an actual aquarium where you can see real sea creatures during and after the ride. The exit dumps you out into an aquarium where there are plenty of fish and other sea animals to look at. The aquarium is actually really cool, unlike the ride that it is attached to. We will now be moving on to the World Showcase, starting with Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. This ride is just okay in my opinion. I'm interested to experience the new 2D version coming soon, but the best part about this ride is the physical sets in between all the screens. I'm not a big fan of screen-based rides, but those sets are pretty awesome. I especially love the stove scene that heats you up, and I also really like the scents and smells they pump into the ride to really immerse you in the world of Ratatouille. Other than that, I wish we would have gotten a better Ratatouille ride. Trackless dark rides can be so awesome when done right, like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway or Rise of the Resistance. But when done like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, it's not necessarily bad, it's just a bit boring and a one and done. This ride draws a massive wait time, so be sure to get here early. Next up in the World Showcase, we have Frozen Ever After. The best thing about this ride is the theming. The animatronics are very impressive, even though the projection faces are kind of unsettling. They are being updated though soon, which is really nice. Other than that, the Arendelle and Norwegian theming is really cool, and I really like the atmosphere of the ride with all the ice and the water. However, it's no Maelstrom, and I really miss being able to see the boat from the outside of the ride. That's in effect why I'd have no idea why they would take out, because it added kinetic energy to the land that is no longer there, making it feel less lively. That's not to say it's a bad ride, and this one is great for families or fans of Frozen, and there's nothing inherently wrong with Frozen Ever After, it's just not as good as its predecessor. Finally, we have the Grand Fiesta Tour starring the Three Caballeros. This ride holds a special place in my heart, and the Mexico Pavilion itself is one of my favorite parts of Epcot. The atmosphere in the pavilion is unmatched, and I love being in there, though it does get crowded from time to time. The actual ride though barely has a wait most of the time, and the best thing about it is the finale with the Caballeros animatronics putting on a show. So after reviewing all the rides at Epcot, I have come to the conclusion that the ride lineup here is pretty spectacular and diverse. Maybe even a little underrated, as there are rides here that you really cannot find anywhere else. There are also some rides at Epcot that are not so great and could use some updating, like Figment. Previously, one of my biggest complaints with Epcot is that Test Track 2.0 wasn't half as good as Test Track 1.0. But now that we have Test Track 3.0, we are back in business, as this might be the best version of Test Track we have gotten yet. Overall, I would give Epcot's ride lineup an 8.5 out of 10, but with future changes and updates, a 10 out of 10 for Epcot is not off the table by any means. Alright, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this one. Subscribe if you made it this far, and comment what park I should do this for next. I really enjoy this style of content, but it's a bit more difficult to make because it's mostly opinion based, and I'm used to doing video essay research style content, so let me know which y'all prefer. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.